All right, welcome. It's December 24th. And today we are going to be talking about the latest drone invasion in North America. So let's just go to the latest news briefing. And then if you have any comments, feel free to share your comments. Feel free to subscribe to this channel, share, you know how it goes. You know the drill. So let's just go to a press conference. We're going to watch it together. This is from the Pentagon. Here we go.
There is a potential threat. We, of course, will take measures to mitigate, but I'll just leave it there.
On South Korea, the security vacuum is in chaos due to the president suspended his work, and the military leadership also as well as suspended. Is there any disruption in the U.S.-South Korea alliance? And who is the Secretary Austin, the current, dialogue partner?
Yeah, so right up front, I would say, and you've heard Secretary Austin say this, the alliance between the United States and the ROK is ironclad. We continue to remain committed to peace and security of the Korean Peninsula, and our combined defense posture remains strong. I know that General LaCamera spoke with.
So whenever I hear that word peace and security, my ears perk up. Obviously, you guys know this channel as a Black Swan Revelation channel, where anytime there's a potential Black Swan event, my ears perk up. Anytime they talk about it, especially when it comes to dealings with China, South Korea, Ukraine, Russia, anything like that, whenever they say peace and security, I'm on alert. I'm on alert. So these are some of the trigger words for me.
So this is your NATO ally saying that surely if there was such a partnership between the US and Turkey, these are the two largest militaries within their lines. Why not just team up? Is it just lack of trust? You just don't believe them, or you like to specifically work with the SDF?
Yeah, thanks for the question. As you highlight, Turkey is a very valued NATO ally, and we continue to keep lines of communication open as it relates to the situation in Syria, as it relates to regional security interests like ISIS. I don't have anything to announce in terms of any changes in U.S. force posture or how we're approaching the defeat ISIS mission, but I'm confident that we'll continue to keep having those conversations with Turkey and other regional partners on this issue.
Just one follow-up, please. The Turkish foreign minister just on the same day said that the YPG, as called the SDF, will either dissolve itself or be destroyed in Syria. Is the United States going to militarily step in? I'd asked this question before because Turkey stresses it very clearly that they're going to be destroyed. Or you can work with us and we can sort out the Daesh problem in Syria. Like, how do you approach this statement and like this behavior?
Yeah, I don't have a comment to provide on the foreign minister's comment. What I would say is what I've relayed before, which is that the SDF remains an important partner. I think it's important to remember what Daesh or ISIS is capable of, as we've seen in the past. And we all have a vested interest in ensuring that they cannot resurge. And so I know, again, we're speaking with our Turkish counterparts and others in the region as it relates to the challenges associated with ISIS, as well as the SDF and the continued important role they play in preventing a resurgence of ISIS. And so
whenever you get news briefings like this, it is very difficult to ascertain as to what is actually really happening. Whenever the reporters ask a question, you're going to get answers that are generic, and it's almost like this is something that I think has been frustrating for the past month or so, was the idea that there's nothing to see here, basically. They keep saying that. They keep saying we're working on it. We're not sure what's going on, but we do have the ability to take down drones, all this kind of stuff. But it's been a month now. It's been a month. So I think everybody is looking for answers. They want to know what's going on over North America. And the other day, my daughter actually filmed some drone sightings in Phoenix. There's about 2 or 3 of them. I showed them on one of my other videos. I'm asking her to record some of my video, or record some videos so that I can upload it on my channel, because they're starting to notice these drones all over the place. And if you, as my audience, ever have drone footage that you see that's a little bit crazy, just email me. Basically, the easiest email would be Black Swan Diary 2022@gmail.com. So let's continue with these guys here.
Variety of both passive and active sensors in order to detect as it pertains to DoD installations. And of course, we're not the only ones in this business when it comes to U.S. civil airspace. I'd certainly refer you to DHS and FAA on that front. As far as Kobani goes,
not the only ones.
The ceasefire discussions between groups that are there and the SDF and others. That's something that we're obviously monitoring closely. As I highlighted to your colleague, I think we all have a vested interest in ensuring that groups in the region capitalize on the situation here to enable the people of Syria to be able to have a better life than they did under the Assad regime. But as it relates to the U.S. force presence in Syria, it is focused on the defeat ISIS mission. And so that's continues to be our focus. And I'll just leave it there. Let me come back into the room. Noah.
CENTCOM didn't specify where the strikes took place yesterday within Syria. American equipment was used. Do you have anything more on that?
What I can tell you, Noah, is you're talking about the counter ISIS, defeat ISIS strikes. Yes, those were in the Badia Desert. What I'm tracking is it was 4 separate locations, and CENTCOM assesses that 12 ISIS members were killed.
Thank you.
John.
Thank you, General. North Syria again. We know that you are actively involved in negotiation between the Syrian Free Syrian Army and the SDF, especially in the area of Manbij. But other than that, in the south, in cities like Raqqa and Deir ez-Zor, there are a lot of protests against the SDF, and especially.
So we'll come back when they talk about drones. They're going to be, this is a loop video, so they should be talking about drones again pretty soon. But lots of stuff going on in the world. And again, the idea that nobody seems to know where these drones come from. Even Donald Trump has been saying that these the government knows, but I can't say anything just yet. It's kind of, to me, this is part of the most frustrating thing, is when you just want basic information that a lot of times it's just fluff. It's just fluff. So let's go back to the briefing here.
To be our focus. Won't speak for the SDF or what the local population may or may not be saying, other than, again, I think we all have a vested interest in ensuring that ISIS is not allowed to regroup and resurge and return to the kinds of activities that we saw previously. Got time for just a couple more.
The leadership of the Assad regime, most of them who are criminals involved in slaughtering their own people, and very possibly in the future there will be courts against these names. We know Bashar al-Assad flew right away to Moscow, but rest of his team, do you have any idea how did they get out of the country, or do you follow any intelligence about personalities like Maher Assad, his brother?
Yeah, I don't have anything to provide from the podium here. Let me go to Mike.
Thank you, John. One question on Syria. Since last week, the Turkish-backed Syrian National Army and militants are amassing around the controlled areas of
Can we stop with the self-care weeks? What if we did adult weeks instead? Think about it. Instead of laying in bed and rotting away, we literally just dedicate.
I find it interesting that when they talk about people fleeing to Russia, one of the leaders from Damascus, I forget what his name is, but basically fleeing, it's like, next question, please. It's kind of crazy. It's like there's certain topics that they don't want to talk about.
Kind of already addressed this. Broadly speaking, the U.S. is communicating with Turkey about the situation in Syria writ large, and keeping lines of communication as it relates to the post-Assad regime, trying to ensure that the people of Syria are able to experience security and stability. But from a U.S. military standpoint, our focus in Syria continues to be on the enduring defeat of ISIS. Okay, let me get to Jim, and then I'll come to you, and then we'll close it up. Jim.
Joe, just to Syria again, given all the unrest, are the and the counter ISIS mission there, are the U.S. forces able to pursue that mission? And is the force protection measures, given the unrest, adequate for what's happening now?
Yes, I mean, that is evidenced by the counter ISIS strike we took a couple days ago. So yes, they are able to conduct their mission. And of course, as it has always been, force protection remains a top priority for our forces in Syria.
There are no plans to add more forces there.
I don't have anything to announce right now in terms of change of force.
Thank you. You've made it very clear that we are in Syria, the U.S. is in Syria to counter ISIS. You've said that several times. But our partner in that fight is the SDF, and the commander is now saying that he wants to propose a demilitarized zone because of these tensions with Turkey, and is asking for American supervision and presence. So is the Pentagon willing to consider that proposal to have U.S. boots on the ground in place to help that demilitarized zone?
Carla, as I'm sure you can appreciate, I'm not going to make policy from the podium here. Obviously we continue to communicate very closely with the SDF as our defeat ISIS partner, but I'm not going to have any updates in terms of change of mission right now. Last question, Mike.
I know you're hoping for a drone question, so let me oblige you.
Okay.
You say that there are these sightings. Why do most of the sightings seem to be around New Jersey? I mean, it's the Garden State and all, but what is so special about New Jersey that it's getting most of the attention from this? I've never seen drones here. I've never seen them flying around Virginia. And second question, drone-related question. I know we are building on developing the military's ability to detect drones. Are you also working on their ability to defeat drones in the air?
Yeah, absolutely. To answer your last question, and I would encourage you to go take a look at the counter unmanned strategy that we put out, just last week, that talks about the approach that we're going to take. And that includes the ability to defeat drones both kinetically and non-kinetically. And so, again, looking at places like Ukraine, we've seen the impact that drones can have on the battlefield. And so it's something that the department's taking very seriously. As for your question in terms of the preponderance of sightings, reported sightings in the New Jersey Northeast corridor, I can't answer that question, Mike. Again, personal experience, I have seen drones in DC. I've seen drones, personal drones flying around. And as I've mentioned from this podium before, one of my close relatives is a private drone operator. And I'm sure some of that person.
Okay, this is where it gets interesting now, because he has to deflect a little bit of the question in regards to why New Jersey? Why New Jersey and why nowhere else? Like, I'm so suspicious right now. I'm so suspicious right now. And I'm waiting for him to let us know, other than the fact that he has friends that fly drones himself. Sorry, that he has his own friends that fly drones. Okay, we all do. But this is something that is different. Can you let us in a little bit? You're making us a little bit suspicious.
We're just more aware of this particular issue. But again, we'll continue to take this very seriously. We'll continue to take appropriate action if and when it's deemed that any of these drones near U.S. military installations pose a threat. But in the meantime, again, I think it's been very clear that we've not identified that any of these reported drone sightings were assessed as anomalous, or that it presented a national security or public safety risk over civilian airspace in New Jersey or other states in the Northeast. All right.
This is part of this testing corridor between Dover Air Force Base and Joint Base McGuire.
Yes. Thank you. All right.
I apologize. It's based off his question.
Now, you just came in the briefing room, so.
Negative. I came in.
You flew in on your drone? Yeah.
But thank you.
That's okay.
Normally my pattern. But, you talked about the military bases. Has there been a surge in counter detection equipment that has been sent to military bases? I'm aware that DHS has sent other equipment to the New Jersey area. Is any of that include DoD equipment, or is that strictly all DHS?
As I highlighted earlier for Picatinny, we did send some additional active and passive detection capabilities, as well as some counter drone capabilities. Those are the only ones, and Earl, those are the only ones I'm tracking right now. But again, if we need to look at other installations, we certainly can, but I don't have anything else to.
When you say active and passive, I mean, that is just strictly detection, or is actually to bring drones down?
So active and passive detection, different methods to be able to detect drones using different capabilities, right? So passive measures would essentially be, it just has the ability to receive signals without emitting signals. Whereas active would be like radar. I bounce the signal off and it bounces back, right? And then separate from that would be counter UAS capabilities, things like let me make sure I get the name right here. like drone busters, which essentially, emits a signal which is able to interrupt the signal on the drone, which can affect its flight.
Okay, so now he's mentioned drone busters, and my question is, why didn't they just use these things right out of the gate, like on day one? If you understand how drone busters work, they basically just cut the power on the drones, and the drones come down safely. So why aren't they using those? China has drone busters. You can't fly drones wherever you want. You think this can happen in China? I don't think so. For some reason, it seems to be only happening in America. What are they up to? Because they're not fooling us right now. They have drone busters, but they're not using them. And there's been reports that these drones have also been evading evading helicopters. So what is really going on? I think that's what we want to know. I think that's what we're asking here.
In Gaza. Readout of the call is now available on defense.gov. Also yesterday, U.S. Central Command forces conducted a precision airstrike against a key command and control facility operated by Iran-backed Houthis within Houthi-controlled territory in Sana'a, Yemen. Per U.S. Central Command's press release, the targeted facility was a hub for coordinating Houthi operations, such as attacks against U.S. Navy warships and merchant vessels in the southern Red Sea and Gulf of Aden. The strike reflects CENTCOM's
Did he just skip talking about drones? Or is it because I paused this that they keep going?
process. Yesterday, the
we need stories. We need stories to understand ourselves. We are the only.
And representatives from the Office of the General Counsel, Washington headquarters, services.
So I think what happens, because this is live, that if I pause it, it just skips ahead. So we actually skipped over a little bit of the drone. I actually thought the video would pause, but.
In accordance with standard practice, the ART members signed non-disclosure.
So here's a
agreements to
question.
discuss security procedures.
Question for you guys. Do you think what is being told to the media, to us, is 100% truthful, or do you think they're actually hiding something from us right now, or do you think we are overblowing this whole thing? Should we just forget about this, stop asking the difficult questions, as in what is really out there, what is really up there? What do you guys think? Are we getting the truth here? It's kind of what it feels like. Feels like they're hiding something. Thanks, Natasha. Feels like they're hiding something from us. Again, look at this. Thanks, Laura, Tom. Yeah, it feels like that the general consensus is they're hiding something, and I don't know why. It could be a distraction from something major that is about to go on. Like, it seems kind of quiet here in North America right now. It seems really quiet. Obviously, people are getting ready for Christmas this evening to hang out with your families, but better believe after the Christmas presents are open up and people have nothing else to do, they are going to turn on the news just to see what's going on. And I'm expecting something tomorrow. Don't know what it is, but in the next couple of days, I'm expecting something big, because all eyeballs will be on the news over this holiday week, I should say, because you got a lot of time now to reflect. People are taking time off now to go visit their family, their loved ones, all this kind of stuff. If you want to get someone's attention, this would be the perfect time to do it, because we're Wednesday is actually midweek. Last year, I believe it was on a Saturday or Sunday, but now you got people's attention because people are at home. Work will be stopped for a day tomorrow. It'll be a day to reflect. Ideally, you're supposed to use this time to visit with your family and all this kind of stuff, but it always seems like whenever Christmas comes around, that there's always something big in the news. And this is what I'm expecting for tomorrow. I'm expecting us to wake up tomorrow morning and go, wow, we didn't see this coming. We didn't see this coming. Because again, if you're talking about a black swan event, it usually comes at a time when you least expect it. And that's what it feels like right now. I'm not saying necessarily World War III or a nuclear war or anything like this, but this is strangely calm in the US and in Canada. It just feels like a light buzz going on right now, that people are just getting used to these drones over New Jersey. And after a while, you start getting used to this stuff, and then you start clicking on different things on the channel and you don't look up anymore. So I wonder what is going to happen tomorrow. Yeah, I've heard that as well. I heard that a lot of people are getting sick as well. And what's interesting is they were spraying stuff. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's fake news or whatever, but I saw video clips of these drones and it looked like it had like a jet stream coming straight down. So I don't know what's going on with that. That just, to me, I'm like, any chemicals being dumped on people seems to be a bad idea. It just seems to be bad. Nothing good can come out of this. And yeah, when you look in the book of Revelation, it talks about 1/3 of people will get sick from water, bitter water. So I think that's something to keep an eye on as well. And the weird thing with all this stuff is you can't really prepare for any of this stuff. You really can't. So what I suggest is you be all prayed up. You know who Jesus Christ is. You know who your Lord is, because this feels like a different season that we are going to enter in. Like, this is not normal. Like, this year has been bizarre. And I talked about it in a previous video. Basically talked about all of like 25 things I listed that could happen in 2025 in regards to a possible rapture. Like, we could be out of here anytime. We could be out of here anytime. We're not waiting for any more prophecies to be fulfilled. But you could also expect us to be here for weeks, another month, another 2 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. Once you start saying, oh yeah, we're going to be here for another 10, 20, 30 years, people start going, I don't know. I don't know. Feels like something is brewing that is going to shift. And this is why I created this YouTube channel a couple years ago, because I felt like we are entering into a black swan type environment when Russia invaded Ukraine. I just felt this is not normal anymore. Life is not normal anymore. And it hasn't been. In the last 2 years, there's been so many things going on. And really, I think how we're going to remember this year is going to be in the last week of December. That's what I feel. It's nothing. We're going to remember. We won't remember January, February, March compared to what's coming down the pipes. That's what I feel. And I think most people are feeling something like this, that there's something going on that we can't quite put our finger on it. Is that thoughts on Pope opening portals today through the 5th? Well, I know CERN is closed right now. They will be opening up January 6th, they're going to start up their particle collider again, which is interesting. And I'm not too worried about the Pope changing times and all this kind of stuff, because what we have to remember is there are at least 4 carpenters that I'm aware of anyway, that basically help restore God's timeline. And all you have to do is just read Zechariah chapter 1. What am I talking about when I'm talking about carpenters? Well, in Zechariah, it talks about there's 4 horns, and a lot of people automatically go Egypt, Rome, Persia, one other country. They always default to those 4. But what I believe Zechariah is saying is there are forces within the principalities, powers, rulers of the air that are actually trying to manipulate time to do their own agenda. And think of time like a river. So basically, you channel a river in a certain direction, and then now you can do all your plans. But this direction is actually God's will, God's plan. And sometimes what happens is nations try and change the course of history to go in this direction or this direction. And God actually dispatches carpenters to restore that timeline and bring it back in line with God's judgment. And this is all in Zechariah. Just check out Zechariah chapter 1. What's interesting is Jesus is the greatest carpenter. He is the greatest restorer of time. And what's interesting, when we're reflecting on that ancient carpenter, Jesus Christ being born on earth physically, it came at the perfect time. And Jesus said at the end of his life on earth, he says, I choose when to lay down my life. Nobody can do that but me. I choose when to lay it down, and then I choose when to pick it back up. What do you think that means? He is the restorer of God's time. He is the original carpenter. That's what a carpenter does. A carpenter actually injects into our time, because we know heaven is outside of time, but earth is bound by time. And we know this from going all the way back to the Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve partook of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. I believe time started right there. I don't think time started before in relation to mankind, because Adam and Eve weren't dying in the Garden of Eden because they never took of the tree of life. But the second they took of that tree of life, I believe when they got kicked out of the Garden of Eden, the time began. Meaning, we now have a prophecy where God says to Eve that one day in the future, your seed is going to crush that ancient serpent's head. So a clock started, and the devil has been trying to slow that clock down or tried to speed it up. But he's basically tried to manipulate the rivers of time. And in Zechariah again, Zechariah was asking, what are these? And God said that these are, the angel said to Zechariah, these are the 4 horns that are actually causing Israel to scatter. And he says, what are these? These are the 4 carpenters that are going to cause those 4 horns to fray. What does that mean? Well, that means they're trying to move things outside of God's timeline. When God said to Moses, I am going to bring them back one day. I'm going to bring Israel back, and I'm not going to let Israel be destroyed. But the devil's trying to do that on every level. He's trying to do that. And it's fascinating to me that God would send carpenters to interrupt the devil's timeline and restore things, because that's what a carpenter does. A carpenter doesn't just work on wood in the Bible. They don't just work on stone. When we're talking about carpenters, we're talking about angelic beings that are actually restoring time, injecting themselves so that they can bring time back in line with God's plan. They actually insert themselves into major events to channel it properly. So if it goes a little bit to the right or to a little bit to the left, God will inject a carpenter to bring it back into submission, bringing back time back into submission, because God has, like, Jacob's trouble is coming. And I think the devil's trying everything in his power to prevent that day from coming, because then he knows his time is short. His time will expire on earth, and one day there will be time no more. So we are living in an interesting time. So I hope during this Christmas season that you will spend a little bit of time having devotion, reading, studying scripture like crazy. I just finished Job this morning. Fascinating book. I learned something new just about every time I come across Job. Every time. So now I'm reading Psalms. And so I have Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Songs. And then I'm done the fourth time through the Bible this year. Then my plan is in January 1st is to start again. And usually what I do is I go back and forth, New Testament, Old, New Testament. I've been in the Old Testament for the past couple of months. So I'm going to start off in the book of Acts and go all the way through the end of Revelation, and then jump into the Gospels again, and then I'll be done the New Testament. Usually the New Testament takes me less than a week to do. I can do the New Testament in a weekend now. And then I usually spend a couple of months in the Old Testament and then done. So my goal next year is a little bit more aggressive, is to try and get through the entire Bible in 12 months. Sorry, not 12 months, 12 times in 12 months. The most I've ever done it was 6 times. And the only way for me to be able to do that is if I get up a little bit earlier than what I do. Normally I get up around 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. And I think I have to get up just a little bit, either that or stay up just a little bit later in order to be able to accomplish that. Because to get through the Bible every day in 30 days, you will have to read between 2 and 4 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like, realistically, it's about 4 hours a day. That'll get you through the Bible in 30 days. And we have a lot of time on our hands. Believe it or not, we have a lot of time on our hands. We have more time than you think. Because think about it. How often do people watch one episode after another of Friends or Lost or Prison Break or any of these other TV shows? They just put one in after another. And really, inside of 66 hours, you can have, let's just say loosely 70 hours. If you just listen to the Bible, you can be done between 40 and 60 hours listening. Reading, you can actually read faster than you listen. So that's something to think about. Increase your speed, get faster at reading. Why? Because when you have to share the gospel with someone, you don't have time to go back home to go get your Bible. You'll have to share the gospel with them right on the spot. And that's how the Holy Spirit can use you, is if you consume so much of the Bible during the week that in an emergency, in a moment of time, if someone asks you why you believe what you believe, you can just allow the Holy Spirit to work through you, because you have all the scripture as well stored in your head. So I hope this has been a little bit encouraging to you. I know there's going to be lots of stuff coming down. I feel it in my bones over the next couple of days. Feels like leading into New Year's Eve is going to be crazy. Like, I'll be surprised if they still have a New Year's Eve bash in New York City, especially when a few miles away you have drones flying over New Jersey. You think drones are just going to stay within that state and not go anywhere else? Like, if you're planning a big event, it's going to be confusing for people. It's going to be really confusing for people. I'm expecting them to bring out their drone busters on New Year's Eve and basically make a rule that tells everybody that if you're flying a drone, they're going to go down. I don't know why they haven't done that yet, but maybe the rules in the States are different. We're not allowed to fly drones wherever we want in Canada, especially in a city. My goodness, you can't just fly a drone. You need a license, and you have to have permission if you're going into certain areas. If you're out in the farm somewhere, you can fly drones, do whatever you want. But in the city, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. You do have to be in an open area. You can't just go downtown and let your drones fly around the buildings and all kinds of crazy stuff. So yeah, for me, I wouldn't feel comfortable hanging out in downtown New York City, especially when they're using drones to spray chemicals. Like, it would just be, to me, that would be like you're setting yourself up by participating in something like that. That's just my thoughts. This is why you come to the Black Swan Revelations channel, because every once in a while I share my thoughts that might be outside the norm, but I just feel like we're being warned and we don't know what it is yet. If you haven't read this book yet, this one I keep close to me because I've read it a couple of times, and what Nicholas Taleb talks about in this book, The Black Swan, is absolutely fascinating. I would encourage you to read it over Christmas. It's a nice light read. It's only about 430 pages, but it helps you think a little bit more outside the box. Because again, one of the three major criteria of a Black Swan event is it's got to interrupt the entire world overnight. It has to do that. Just think of 9/11. Think 1942. And the second thing is it has to, the first thing, it's highly improbable. That is probably the biggest thing to pay attention to. When people start saying this will never happen, like they will never shut down New Year's Eve, downtown New York. They will never do that, or they will never do this. That is basically making the soil fertile when it comes to black swans. They love when you say things like that can never happen. And then the second criteria, of course, is it has to change the financial sector almost overnight. Like we're talking, the stock markets will change. They either go up or go down, but business as usual usually stops. And then people change and switch gears and do something different. And then the third thing that happens, the third final criteria, is you look backwards in time and you see all the breadcrumbs. You look backwards and you go, oh, we should have saw this coming. We should have saw that day after day, week after week, that the drones were getting more and more and more and more. We should have saw that perhaps we were being invaded by entities that are not human. Because this is how it starts. It starts so subtle. It's almost like a frog in a kettle. You just turn up the water a little bit slowly, and before you know it, the frog is boiled. I believe this is what's happening right now. You just Throw a bunch of drones out, take them away. Throw a bunch of drones out, take them away. And you just keep adding, keep adding, keep adding. And then pretty soon, before you know, you guys are in lockdown. And usually what happens to you affects us up here in Canada. So that's what I feel like they're doing right now, is they're grooming us for something. Do you remember when Putin was doing military exercises? You may not remember this, but in January of 2022, he was doing military exercises outside the borders of Ukraine, and they sent so many tanks that people are like, there's no way that he would invade Ukraine. There's no way. And he kept saying, this is so routine, guys. We're just practicing. That's all we're doing here. And then they invaded. This is what I feel like is happening right now with these drones, because you ask anybody, they're just like confused as to what's going on here. They're really, really confused. And when you think about back to Donald Trump's assassination attempt, they didn't have any drones around that area to protect Donald Trump. And now we have drones all over New Jersey, especially at night, which is kind of weird when you think it. That's why I feel like this is some kind of deity that operates at night. They don't operate during the day. And the CIA, or the Secret Service, I should say, didn't have any drones available. So it's bizarre. I gotta sneeze. No, I do not. I do not have to sneeze. Yeah, who knows if they're sending drones out to spray farms. Like, that would just be horrible, because then you can cause a massive food crisis. You don't need to pollute all the food. You don't need to pollute all the water. You just need one small town to get sick. You just need to pollute one small town. You just need to pollute their water. You need to pollute their food supply to cause a panic in the market. Yesterday, Costco was packed. You could hardly get in there. I actually had to park like a block and a half away and walk to Costco. And when you're going inside Costco, it's basically shoulder to shoulder. I've never seen a store that is more busier. And I wonder if that's because people are like, well, I'm going to store up because I don't know what's in store for 2025. I don't know, but I've never seen the store this busy. I've never seen. Actually, that's not necessarily true. I remember during COVID, I was lining up outside of Costco, and they actually had pallets in the parking lot to guide people. It was like, it felt like we were like a lamb led to the slaughter. It was so weird because everybody had a mask out in the parking lot, and it would zigzag like this with pallets on either side. Like, they would put like 10 or 15 pallets on both sides so that you were basically herded in, and you would just zigzag all the way to Costco, and it would take you like an hour. The lineup was crazy, but this is different because yesterday was just full. Costco was full. The parking lot was full. Driving in the parking lot, it was ridiculous. Like, nobody could find a parking spot. I had to park a ways away and walk to Costco. And then when you get inside, man, there's lineups. Like, it was nuts. I'm telling you, something's brewing. Anyways, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed your time today. This is a little bit of an update for December 24th. Enjoy your evening. I'm going to church tonight. Should be pretty fun. We have actually 3 services this afternoon, so that should be good. But enjoy your family. Enjoy your time off in regards to work. Study the scripture. Read a lot. Because, let me just see if I can put up my email here for everybody. There's 2 emails that I have. This one here This one is if people want to be a guest on my channel, maybe have something to share, maybe have some footage about drones or whatever. Don't send it to this one. This would be more if you want to be on the show. But if you have things that you want me to read, articles, video footage, links, whatever it is, send it to this one, Black Swan Diary 2022. Just so I can keep things separate, because this is where I get anytime anybody sends me anything, hey Shane, look at this article, or hey Shane, look at this video clip or whatever, I send them to there. The other one is if you want to be a guest on this channel. If you have a YouTube channel, that is even better, because then we can promote your YouTube channel when you're a guest on my channel. This is what I like to do. So I have people on my channel. We talk a little bit about your YouTube channel. And then that way you get a bit of a bump as well, especially if you have less subscribers than I do, because I know that's how it worked for me. When I was on Uptime Community Church, my channel began to explode. And that should tell you that networking with other people is actually what helps grow your channel. As somebody will see you on someone else's channel and they go, you know what? That guy was not too bad on that channel, so I'm going to take a chance and go to his channel and subscribe to his channel. So again, if you have any questions, topics that you would like me to talk about, especially in the new year, feel free to email me at blackswandiary2022@gmail.com. And of course, if you want to consider supporting this channel, you can give $2 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month. This just helps. It helps me grow the channel. I got a new background. Hope you guys like it. I kind of like it. I like it. It's just kind of my wall was kind of plain Jane, but now I got this. It took me a while to put bricks in here, but it actually looks pretty nice. Looks pretty nice. I think it took me like a minute to hang this backdrop. So, but it's kind of nice. I like it. I like the backdrop. I really do. So if you want to support this channel, you can do that as well. What else do we have? That's pretty much it for today. Really hope you guys have a good Christmas. Thanks for being on here. You guys have been great all year long, following this channel, sharing your ideas. It's been fun. So I'll see you guys in another video, and I hope you have a fantastic evening. And again, I can't say this enough. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your family. See you later. Bye for now.